Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a nice justice served swiftly story, in which a couple of idiot drivers decided to set up our OP. Let's see how that turned out. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Yeah, those are cameras on my car. Literally just happened. For background, about 9 months ago, I had a person run a left turn signal light and T-bone me. Even though it's an intersection notorious for the problem, the police stated it was my word against the other parties, so no one was at fault. My insurance company ruled in my favor and it didn't cost me, but it was frustrating. And most importantly, it led to me installing a fairly high-end dash cam system that covers front and back and has very good night vision capabilities. Fast forward to tonight. I'm going through a gate in a gated community. I have an RFID transponder, so the gate automatically opens when I get close to the gate. There was a man sitting at the pull-in by the keypad entry waiting. As I started going through the gate, the guy tried to whip around in front of me, but didn't have the room. Instead, he stopped and started yelling obscenities at me. I stopped and let him know that my RFID had opened the gate and asked if he lived there. He got out of his car and started yelling. I decided to just slowly move forward and pull in. He got in his car and rear-ended me trying to rush through the gate. He started yelling and someone got out of a different car. Turns out it was his wife, and they both reeked of booze. They started saying that I'd stopped short and that they were going to call the cops and tell them I was at fault and assaulted them, etc. So I waited. When they kept yelling, I just called the cops myself and told them I was rear-ended by a drunk who was now being belligerent. Ends up, the police were only a couple blocks away and were there in probably less than 3 minutes. He immediately noted the alcohol on their breath and had them sit on the curb where he came over and reviewed the dashcam footage. He took my statement and asked me what I wanted to do. I told him that the car was barely moving and there was no damage, so he took my details and sent me home. The other two he arrested for DUI. He came a little while ago for the dashcam footage, told me they both tested well above the legal limits, and since they were in different cars, they were both getting charged with DUIs. He also told me they were still claiming it was my fault they rear-ended me. And our next story. Sales director tried to sue the company and now owes over $500,000. I work with a federal contractor responsible to buy or bundle hardware, software, etc. any government organization needs and review the contract in terms of financial viability and legal clauses. In other words, ensure we make money and we're legally covered. The contracts range from $5,000 to $40 million. Last year, our company went through a reorganization, i.e. fire people and give more work to people still left with the company while paying us peanuts. We're a small company with less than 200 employees and trying to retain our government customers, while the big companies like Amazon Cloud will replace us in less than 10 years. The government customers love working with us because this is the only thing we do and treat the customers better than big contractors who don't care. They laid off 30 people from my team of 50. So now 20 people do the work for 50 people at the same salary. We're paid by the month and not work hours, and we don't get sales bonuses. Important in the story. I have a habit of reviewing everything carefully and spending hours on each contract, even one that just makes us a few $1,000s. Government vendor selection process is slow, and they are very risk-averse, so a lot of customers start at a few $1,000s and end up at an 8 or 9 figure contract if everything goes well. Since people were laid off, I was struggling with the work volume, and as a result, contracts were piling up. The sales director, i.e. different team, did not like me as I was slow and also catching any tricks the sales team tried to play by overpromising the customer or something shady. Government clients/customers loved working with me, the support I provided, and was truthful regarding our capability and our drawbacks. This was something else the director hated me for since he thought I'm tanking sales. However, almost all of my clients were repeating customers for over a decade. Example: sales wanted a school district to buy outdated Dell Windows laptops while entire state was moving towards new, cheaper Chromebooks. Schools don't have a budget, and whatever they buy stays for 5+ years. Sales were offloading expensive, useless stuff to get better bonuses and also charge customer nearly $1 million to provide IT support for faults arising from ancient hardware. During my conversation with the school district, I shared examples of state governments in the Northeast buying Chromebooks and saving money while future-proofing the hardware. My job was to get the best quote to customer and develop trust to sign 5 or 10-year contracts. So this school district bought Chromebooks which were 40% cheaper and had less than 20% of the previously quoted IT support cost. As a result, the sales team lost a few $1,000s in bonus, but we brought this customer with us for a 5-year contract. The sales director got pissed at me as I was working on small contracts at a slow pace and reprimanded me in front of our manager. The manager didn't care and didn't defend me and asked, "Why don't you follow what the sales director says and stop fussing over small contracts?" I said small contracts turn into big ones, hence I should pay attention to them as well. Mistakes in small contracts could harm us if the contract becomes big. I'm struggling at work because you gave me the job of 3 or 4 people. At this point, he was shouting at me that I don't understand contracts, he's been doing this stuff for 5 years, and he makes more money in a month than I do in a year, so I should listen to him and not question him. This was a bit insulting, as I live in a shared apartment and am struggling to make ends meet while he drives an expensive luxury car and just goes out on fancy lunches with government employees. I asked my sales director to send an email with a list of suggestions to improve my work. He rudely complied and said, "Can you not even remember what I just said in a meeting?" His email said, "Do not review contracts less than $100K and trust sales team that due diligence has been done." I replied by copying my manager in the email that this could create liability in the future, and I want him to confirm again that the sales team will do financial and legal compliance themselves for the small contracts, and I need to stop revising small government contracts below $100K with no exceptions unless told otherwise. This was gold. So instead of 2 hours, I spent 10 minutes on small contracts, and voila, backlog cleared and I'm home by 6:30 p.m. Now a contract worth $10K comes through. I found some issues with this contract since it says we offer 30% rebates to our software providers. This was something we stopped doing 5 years ago, and now we just offer software providers a 5 to 10% rebate on contracts. Also, I knew the government client recently got a massive budget and was on a spending spree. Part of my job. There's a high chance that this $10K customer will become a $100 million customer, and the 30% rebate means we have to give $30 million on top of the usual cost. But I remembered what the sales director said. Why don't you follow what the sales director says and stop fussing over small contracts? So 10 minutes later, I email, "No issues detected based on compliance check by the sales team." As I mentioned, government contracts are slow. No one cared or raised the 30% rebate issue since it was just a $10K customer. 10 months later, the state government customer said they want to work with us and get at least the same terms or better for a new $50 million contract. This was the largest contract in our company's history. The sales director happily gave him a handshake deal that will offer the same or better terms. Government can legally just buy more on their current contract, so the sales director had no issues promising the same terms. Given contract size, everyone from legal, IT, and finance gets involved to work on just one contract. For 3 months, everyone worked on one contract. The sales team was giddy that they'll get $1 million bonuses. I don't get a sales bonus to ensure I protect customers and the company. The finance team finishes their review and said the company is going to lose $8 million and not make any money. Everyone is shocked. The sales director gave a deal without checking with us, and we cannot go back on something we offer. Changing contract terms is frowned upon by the government, and they have legal contracts stating nothing will change. We are legally obligated to offer the government the same terms for 3 years. The legal team says we need to take a hit on our balance sheet and swallow the losses. The CEO called a big meeting in a fancy conference room with big TV screens, and everyone had to find a scapegoat to take the blame. Every department lead, managers, and people involved in this contract were summoned. The sales leader had to explain to his team why they won't get bonuses on this big contract they spent over 3 months. Finally, legal and finance meet and share their findings. We lost money due to the 30% rebate clause. The sales director goes crazy and blamed me in front of everyone and asked me to pack my stuff in front of 30 people. Follows by saying I'm terrible at my job despite 100% customer satisfaction. I calmly opened my laptop and connected the display and opened Outlook while displaying his email on 3 big TV screens, stating that I should stop reviewing small contracts. While all 30 people read the email with a faint smile, I await the sales director's reaction. He goes into rage mode, claiming I misunderstood his email and am terrible at my job. Then I scroll down where he ignored my warning regarding potential liability to the company, and his response explicitly asked me to ignore that. His face turned white when he realized he effed up. He then blabbered, trying to find some other scapegoat, making racist tirades against our IT consultants in Vietnam, and just lost it. Aftermath. I was told to spend 2 to 3 hours on each contract, and the company eventually figured out that it's cheaper for them to hire 20 people like me and pay us $70K every year than to take big losses on their contracts. Our team has 40 members now, still less than 50, but enough to offset the contract volume. Because of the losses, sales director had to pay back his previous year's bonus as he had a clawback clause with the company, i.e., if you screw up, you need to pay us. The sales director had to pay nearly $300K and was fired from his job. Present day. He then sued our company for wrongful termination, and we just heard today that he lost the case and now owes us another $200K in legal fees. Now he owes over $500,000 to our company. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.